Hi, and welcome to In Real Life once again. I hope this is you're enjoying what we're providing for you. And if this is your first time here, then welcome for the first time. I've got with me Sasha Caridia. Hi, Sasha, once again. It's fun having our chats together.
Hello again.
How are you? This not a sunny day. It's a bit grey out there, isn't it? Grey.
No, it is. It's foggy, grey, damp, cold.
Yeah, definitely sort of one of those winter things. You think, I prefer it bright and crisp and even almost. There we go. But I console myself a little bit at this time of year that just before Christmas, the days start to get longer. So there we go. It's
yes.
It's starting to get, the light is starting to get brighter. And actually, you were talking about that the other day. Well, sorry, just recently, about your Celtic Christmas or whatever stuff.
I think there's a lot of things that have changed, obviously, clearly over this year and time to think about things. And something I've never, ever done is actively kind of followed Advent, if you like. I picked up a book and it's to do with Celtic Christians. So basically following Advent in the Celtic way. Anyway, basically the long and the short of it is rather than 4 candles, you do it over 6 weeks and you're journeying with Emmanuel, God with us, basically to the manger, with God, with Jesus, and with Holy Spirit. And each time you have a candle for each week. So the first week I lit the candle. I'm sitting there in the dark. I'm thinking, yes, I'm going to watch, obviously, the sun come up, and I'm going to read this devotional. And I lit the candle. Not very light in here. Well, I'm not going to turn the light on because that will ruin the atmosphere. And I'm trying to read this devotional, but what's really fantastic, and it's a really good picture, as each week goes by, you light another candle, it gets brighter and brighter and brighter, which obviously leading to the culmination of Christ being born in the light of the world. So it has been fun, and my eyesight has not been too badly affected. It's a great picture, that hope, that light.
It's a great picture, and you start with 4 candles. Did you say that'll keep on?
There's 6. Know where we're going with that one. Got any O's?
Yeah, 4 candles. Won't go down that line, but yeah. If you ever visit Westminster Abbey, then that's part of the folklore there, because he's buried there. Anyway, that's a different issue. So we want to talk. You're going to talk today a bit about your allotment. You got an allotment, and which is a lockdown reality that's come to life, but you've been waiting for a while. So I'm intrigued and interested to see how that all develops. Knowing you'll make a great success of it. But tell us a bit about that journey, because that journey actually started somewhere very close to home for me, which was in my garden a little bit, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, well, 101 things you didn't think you'd be saying to yourself or be excited about, surprises in this year. I back in April, when everyone was sort of baking bread at home, and I'd been doing some stuff, but people were then deciding they're going to grow their own vegetables. I put my name down for an allotment, and I had a phone call 2 weeks ago offering me this space. So I went up there, had a look, slightly overwhelmed, thinking, what have I done? And I said yes. So they handed the key over, lovely folk. And I woke up the following morning. The first thing that went through my mind was, what have I done? It does stem back to, it's going to be, nearly 3 years now. 2 years. Anyway, long story short, your place, we went across, and a number of us were watching, I think it was the World Cup, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And you invited us to have a look and wander around your garden, and just off to the right of this sort of garden area, there's a wooded area, and the story goes, I stepped into the woods, and literally as I took one step into the woods, I became overwhelmed, and out of my mouth came, "I can dream." Which is a little backstory to that. I'd always struggled with the thought of dreaming with God, and actually all it boils down to is the desires of your heart, but it took a while for me to get that. And as I'm wandering around your woods, I'm weeping and I'm overwhelmed, and I describe it as not stepping into nothing is impossible, but actually the inevitability of God, with God, a realm of faith. And from that stems some amazing things over the following year. Dreams realized, ability to do things that I hadn't been able to do, financial provision, just incredible. And so I've been reflecting on this journey with the allotment that's currently going on, and realizing that it really does stem back yet again to that encounter in the wooded area at your place. And actually, for me, it's a really good picture of what happens when you live your life and you're growing in faith. So for yourself and Kim and you guys, and the way that you live your life and demonstrate your faith, you then get other people. If you live your life that way, you then get to step onto what's already been prayed for, trusted for, and you can then step into that realm. I'm explaining it that well, but I think you're able to, what you cultivate, others are able to step into and grow from. Really good. Hey, allotments, cultivating.
Yeah.
But
I always love hearing that story, not because, well, obviously it is personal, but again, for those of you watching, that Kim and I were actually pursuing a dream. That's my wife, Kim, and we had the idea of moving to a house with a bit of space, a bit more bigger garden, just something that we could do something with, like a big allotment, but actually without having to travel to it, that we could actually work on. And it was when we looked at places, didn't quite get it, and there were pursued a couple of houses, didn't come about, and almost like we almost thought, oh, this isn't going to happen, and then it did, and we ended up with this dream house that God really put in our lap. We had to work for it, but to get it, it wasn't gifted to us or anything like that. But it was our dream, and always the idea was actually that our dream was actually going to enable other dreams, and stuff not just for our family, but actually we were longing to think this will benefit Eastgate. And so when you said that, it always thrills me that actually, and it just is this idea that your dream can add to other people's dreams and enhance them. And I remember we had a Heaven in Healthcare barbecue at my house, didn't we? And then actually, people went for a wander through the woods. And I said, oh, what did you like about the woods? And I think, anyway, one of the ladies, she came back and said, well, my favourite bit was the encounter with an angel in your woods. And I'm thinking, oh, right, yeah, that would be good. Just think, and you think, yes, God is with us. God is with us in our dreaming, isn't he? And often you find actually angels appear in dreams and stuff like that. They're often linked to dreams. And so if you want to do a little Bible study, people watching this, of angels appearing, look at when angels come, and they're often in dreams. You see that with Mary and Joseph and stuff like that. And
I often go back to that time in the woods. It's interesting for me. I've been in there subsequently. When I step in there, for me, I can feel almost the prayers. I can feel the pacing that's gone on around that place, and it's a real tangible thing that you step into. But what's really interesting is you've got pathways which are clear. And then you've actually, I've subsequently back a little while ago, actually a couple of months back, when we were able to get together. Yeah. And I noticed actually then, because previously there were other pathways which kind of clear, but it would be a bit uncomfortable if you're wearing flip-flops going through it. And then there were others which you looked at and you could see potential in, but weren't yet any shape or form. And this time round, when I went round, the path that was clear was very clear. And the other paths that were kind of passable were now clear. And then you've got the other areas. Now, just a brilliant picture of I think, your adventure in faith journey with God, dreaming of different pathways. And it's a good picture.
I was out there the other day just clearing dead ivy and stuff away, and then just we created some clearings in the woods. So that's been fun. And so I love it, the fact that God wants us to dream, and he wants to give us more than we would ever ask or imagine, because actually he certainly has done here for us. But our more than we would ask or imagine doesn't stay just personal to us. It actually increases the kingdom for everybody. And so we'd encourage you, dare to dream, even dare of something crazy like an allotment or something like that, and see what God does. So the other thing was interesting was actually lots of things interesting, but on Sunday at Eastgate, we had our first live streamed Sunday service from the building. Up until now, we've sort of done some pre-recorded stuff, or maybe live Zoom stuff from homes and things like that. But we've just say the tech team, which includes Phil, who's doing this for us today. So thanks once again, Phil. Worked really hard to enable it, and it went on Sunday. and so I was watching it. I think you were watching it online at the same time, where you just think, oh, this is great. And I hadn't remembered, and that's unusual because I normally do remember this date, but in this world, there's a lot of things that there's quite a lot of things I'm not remembering at the moment. My memory is, and I normally have I've got a good memory, but there's lots of things that sort of seem to be passing my memory by at the moment. But up on the YouTube chat came, today is the 7th anniversary of the official opening of Eastgate, the building. I thought, oh yeah, I hadn't remembered that, and it popped up on the screen, and then it went on from there. And you were thinking about it as well a bit, weren't you?
Yeah, it was actually something I saw that a lady called Kate Stevens. She's a medical professional. She was on Facebook. She's part of Eastgate, long-term part of Eastgate, and she had mentioned the fact that this was the seventh anniversary, and I just thought, wow, again, dreaming, isn't it? Because that represents a dream, but also a promise and a prophetic word. And yeah, it was powerful.
And so what made me think back, well, what has been achieved in 7 years there in the building since God enabled us to do it? And it's what I call the power of a common dream. We were a small church that had a big dream that we pursued together, and then God enabled it to happen. Then we look back and think, wow, what has happened since we've had the building? It's been an extraordinary tool for God's hands and the expansion of the kingdom, not just as a church expanded, but we've been able to influence the area, do great community work. We've had great conferences, stuff that gone out. We've had international visitors. Don't know how many different people from how many different nations have visited Eastgate in that time, and we've been able to flow back out into places we would have never reached before. And then, so I thought, 7 years, and then it came to mind that 7 years, that the 7th year is in going back to the allotment terms, the soil terms, is actually the year of the fallow ground. And so I thought, I just looked it up. And I looked it up. It's in Exodus 23 and verse 10, then 11. It says, for 6 years you are to sow your field and harvest the crops, but during the 7th year that the land lie uncultivated, unplowed and unused, then the poor among your people may get food from it, and the wild animals may eat what they leave. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. And I thought, now that is really interesting, because basically for 6 years we're meant to work on the land, and then the 7th year it's left uncultivated, would be the word. And I thought, you know what? For 6 years we worked really hard at Eastgate because we could. And the 7th year we haven't been able to. But now there's been stuff going on, but in one sense it's been almost like, now you think, this is like God's purpose, because it says actually that it will be renewed and it will come up stronger. And there's almost like that renewing of the soil within which everything grows. And I thought, wow. And I just hadn't registered it. But then I thought the 7th year is actually starts at the end of the 6th year. Do you see what I mean? So when we come to the 7th anniversary, it's actually the end of the 7th year. It's the end of the fallow year. It's the end of the uncultivated year. So now we've entered into the next phase of cultivation. And I thought it was fascinating that coincided completely coincidentally, but not planned. It was dependent upon all sorts of things coming together, which we weren't certain about, technical, stuff being delivered. So actually on that exact day, we started to broadcast in a way that would take it further again than we've ever been before. So I thought it was a beautiful picture, and it feels prophetic to me that, and I think anybody out there, you can take it, that God this year has been a year of unusual, but in biblical terms, we can maybe, this looks like one of those fallow years, but it's always for greater fruitfulness.
No, absolutely. I'm loving this. Going back to the allotment and the analogies of cultivation. Yep. I am no expert, but I've been doing a lot of reading. There's a good few folk around our environment and otherwise who are very knowledgeable. And the little that I do know right now is, it's interesting, there's different methods in which you dig. You can either dig the ground, or you do something called no dig. But the thing I think is, interestingly, the idea behind the no dig method in allotment is you're not disturbing the soil. So when you think about, as you've just said, that year of letting the soil rest, there is a healthy sort of bacteria and the fungus and everything else within the soil. It's repairing itself. And it's actually then becoming more nutritious and all the rest. And then able to provide good crops and stuff. So I think that's quite a good picture, in terms of allowing things to rest. I think even when we've had this thing of abiding, you know, we talked about abiding early on, and the whole thing of rest, but then regeneration, and yeah, it's gosh, lots of allotment analogies right now, but yeah, the health of the soil.
It's about your compost and your shed.
Yeah, it's just incredible. So here's the interesting thing. So I was saying, you know, back in April, signed up for this thing, had the phone call 2 weeks ago, completely out of the blue, and all of a sudden, that thing I'd been thinking about and desiring, which had been lying, kind of not doing a lot, and I'd even almost forgotten about it, had suddenly sprung to life. And the immediate thing for me was, well, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? Oh, what have I done? Yes, but I have no idea. Anyway, so I've gone up there and I've had a look, and I'm thinking, okay, right, well, to do what I want to do with this plot, I need a lot of compost. And I had no clue what was lying there already. The guy that had it previously and has just given it over back to the site was a gardener. Commercial gardener, and he would just bring all of his waste, all sorts of bits and pieces, and I didn't know, but he'd pile it up in one corner. And so when I came back to the space a few days after having a conversation with someone who said he's quite happy to sort out part of the plot for me and just get things a bit tidied up, I was a bit concerned because the composting area that I'd seen had disappeared, was now in a different place with nothing in it. And I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? And then as I'm walking the ground, I'm thinking it's a bit squidgy underfoot. It's not very firm. And I realized that all of the waste that this guy had been putting onto the site over the period of 7 years had been spread all over the earth, and it was ready, composted. And all I've had to do is mark out where I'm going to have the plots. Now, if that's not a picture of rest, I don't know what is, you know, in sense of I'm not having to do anything. God's going before, he's got the provision, 7's popped up again. And so then I've marked out the areas. I've got bits of string and stuff and marked out where I want, what I want where. I've got a place for a shed. So I'm then getting a quote for bits and pieces for the shed and thinking, okay. Then I get a phone call yesterday, and basically I've been given a shed on the site that's maintained by, it's a council allotment site, and the guy said, well, I should take this if I were you, this doesn't come up often. I said, I think I will. So once again, you know, there's your dream, there's your desire, there's that picture of, oh, now I'm going to do it, but I don't know how, and that picture of rest, you know, of God's got this, and there's a thing of partnering with him in that, but not having to do it your own way and yourself. And yeah, it's a good picture.
I think it's a great picture. I think it's a picture where you started with a dream, and then almost when it comes, it's overwhelming. You think, oh my goodness, this is far too big for me. And then the provision is already there. You know, that has been waiting there, gathering for 7 years. And then that's, again, the 7 years, that's a beautiful picture. And then what do you need next? A shed. And, oh, here's a shed. I just thought this is a beautiful picture, not just of the provision in the instant, you know, like the shed, oh, right now, but actually the provision of God for 7 years before you even got it. You know, I just think, what a picture.
Here's the other interesting thing on it. So I was going back to what we were saying about walking around the woods and the provision and the release of a credible release of provision that came after that. I thought about that and I thought, oh, well, I've got the ability to do what I want to do, what I would like to do in terms of some finances. I could get a shed, I could do X, Y, and Z. And even, I don't know, but it's the provision that's sitting there, I haven't had to dip into because God's continuing to provide. And it's a question, I think then you kind of come around to, and I think this is where I'm at with this is, okay, God, you provide this stuff not just for ourselves. There's a wider connotation to it. So I remember one particular thing that happened where I remember I was talking to God about provision. I was saying, well, wow, what could we do with this? And I think he holds you to those sorts of conversations. So it's starting to open up my thinking around that side of things as well, that I could have financially have bought a shed. It wouldn't have been a problem for me right now. But actually God's like, no, as you said, it's there, it's provided for, and it's just this continual sort of journey with him of his goodness. And I think that's what it boils down to. How, you know, I think you've said this. I remember, in fact, I do remember you saying this when I was part, I think, second year in the school of what's called Spiritual Life now, Eastgate School of Spiritual Life. And I think you said something along the lines of an inability to dream, it would really demonstrate what you believe about the goodness of God. Words to that effect. And it is based on his goodness, his kindness, his compassion, his nature, his glory. And I'll
tell you another interesting little beautiful. You see God's orchestration on this, because I didn't know you got your allotment before Sunday. And then, but there was a couple on the live stream on Sunday who joined in with Eastgate Coffee at the back. That's the meet, bit of social time after the sort of the Sunday service on Zoom, sort of joined together for coffee. And they're from Germany, and they've been over to Eastgate a couple of times. Like I said, the visitors who've come, and then they got encountered, I think, when they're walking around Gravesend by one of our teams out in the streets of Gravesend. Anyway, so they join in regularly. So they chip in on the chat on Sundays. Oh, that's interesting. It's our 7th wedding anniversary today. And I'm thinking, what? so on exactly the same day that we opened the building, they got married, and their journey. And I thought, and this is in Germany. I'm thinking, you couldn't make this up, could you? You could not make this up. This is it's and that Beachheads for Freedom. Oh my goodness, we've got now. For me, Germany is really important because I always say some of the people who suffered the most during the Second World War were actually the Germans. Because Nazism, Nazism oppressed the German people more than any other, in one sense, and they live with the shame and the guilt of that. So to bring freedom into that nation as well would be a beautiful part of our spiritual journey, and to help with that. And like I say, we got a friend Matthias in there in Germany who's keen to work with us. And then this, I think, what a beautiful picture. God is doing amazing things, isn't he?
Yeah, he certainly is. I think it's a case of open your eyes and see what he is doing. Yes, there are circumstances still that can pull us in, but actually the secret is that God doesn't change. And he's already always at work. And it's just a case of saying, okay, Lord, if you can't see, then just open my eyes. And if you're still struggling, then go actively seek out the stories, the testimonies of things that God is doing, and encourage yourself with that. Across the board stuff is happening. So
brilliant, great stance. So when you're next on your allotment, Sasha?
Well, I'm working from home at the moment because we're in tier 3 till we get back to tier 2. So my circumstances have changed slightly. So probably the weekend, Friday actually. No, Friday, sometime Friday, because I'm not working the longer days that I was. So
okay. Well, Friday we've got a busy day in the School of Spiritual Life and Heaven and Health. We've got lots of stuff going on, haven't we? So lots of great encouragements going on with Heaven and Healthcare. And also, just to say to folks watching us that we'll have broadcasts going throughout December, just recognising that actually, with Christmas coming, Christmas is a great time for family celebration. So we trust you'll have good preparations. But a lot of health workers have to continue working through. I know I have done. Lost track of how many Christmases I actually worked Christmas days. So we're not stopping our production over that time because we want to keep blessing you, and we look forward to keeping on feeding you encouragement as we pass through Christmas period and into the new year. And are you looking forward to the new year, Sasha?
Yes. Yes, I am. It's so funny because it's like 2020 and on the stroke of midnight 2021, and it's all going to change. That would be lovely. I saw a great meme actually, a great picture someone had posted of a group of people sort of huddled in, and you've got a doorway with 2021 on it with this stick, prizing it open. But no, of course, 2021, 2021. Yes, new year. It's full of potential. Absolutely.
I tell you, and this is something to celebrate again this week, isn't it? A breakthrough is that. I think it was over the weekend. I'm not sure if it was actually Sunday, but it might have been that Saturday or Sunday. I think the first vaccines arrived from Belgium into the UK, and they're being rolled out this week. So the first vaccinations are happening. So that's a start again. And for me, I thought, again, just a picture of actually change from a fallow year, but stuff that's been happening, not been unproductive in one sense. Stuff's been happening, and now the vaccine rollout. And I'm just celebrating the National Health Service because of its efficiency and ability to get this done in such an orderly way and such a quick way. So we celebrate everybody out there who's working within the realms of healthcare. Thank you for all that you do, and we want to keep on supporting and encouraging you, and just spread the word out that we're doing more. We'll have more coming up. We're refreshing the website over the sort of Christmas New Year period as well. So we'll have more for you to look forward to as we move forward. So look forward to having a great week, and we'll see you next week here on In Real Life. In Real Life.